It's a few minutes past midday at the Nagru Teenage Center. Quite a busy day for the staff here, as it's a clinical day for young people seeking for sexual and reproductive health services. As I keep watch, a visibly young teenager carrying a baby approaches the nurse's room seeking for assistance. I'm informed by the nurses that she had brought her 3-month-old daughter for a checkup as well as for a review following the complications she developed while giving birth. During this session, she's also taught about the various family planning methods that she can use to delay her next pregnancy. I'm interested in learning more about her story, so I request her to share with me how a visibly young teenager could have a baby. For the purpose of anonymity, I refer to her as Nakate. At 14 years, Nakate was already sexually active. She had multiple sexual encounters with her 16-year-old boyfriend, and she fell pregnant.
Twali tugenze zeeka senga wange nandaba nangamba nsule uwe nankebera ku makya n'enkizuula n'entya n'enkaaba nga mmanyi bagenda kunkuba nangamba ngambe mama wange mami ne tumuyitiramu naye era n'akaaba naye n'agamba it's okay nsobola oddukuza naye data yali agaanye nangamba ndugyemu n'eŋŋaana.
This certainly was not good news for her parents.
Kale yayomba n'agamba sobola zaala ndi mwana muto ng'omulenzi agenda musiba naye ne mulaba kiti omulenzi muleke olubuto ngenda dduzaala nja kuzaala ne mama n'amugamba ne mama ye n'amugamba awo n'akireka n'agamba nduzaala.
She conceived while she was in her 3rd term of senior 1.
Mama katata wange n'agamba nazaala wange wendiba mmaze ozaala balina okunzizaayo ku ssomero kati nengumirawo neŋŋamba wadde ndufunye naye ngenda zaala nzireyo malirize emisomo gyange onembeera n'olubuto lwange.
She endured the 9 months and gave birth, even though that too was a trying moment in her life. Part of her birth canal was cut to increase on the diameter so that she could deliver her baby safely. Nakate is currently 15 years and stays with her boyfriend's family under the watch of her in-laws. I then asked why she engaged in sexual activities at such a young age, even after she accepted that she had got a lot of advice from her parents.
Obuulirira omwana n'okola otya era omwana aba wakufuna lubuto n'owamubuulirira n'owomutwala n'owomuteeka n'owozimba ennyumba n'oteekako simanyi gate era omwana aba agenda okufuna olubuto era omwana aba agenda kwonooneka n'owomubuulirira nze bambuuliriranga era nga ngamba mama byosobola bikola naye kyekyavaamu nafuna olubuto disappointinga mami wange era yanyigira nansonyiwa.
After my discussion with Nakate, I see an outpouring of seemingly teenagers coming with their babies to receive treatment. These young mothers form part of the 25% statistic of women who get pregnant in their teenage. This ranks Uganda as one of the countries with the highest teenage pregnancies in sub-Saharan Africa in the last 10 years. This, despite the huge funding that goes into family planning from both government and the international community. In fact, the budget for family planning has grown by 40% from $3.3 million in 2012 to $5 million in 2016. A significant figure of this money has been prioritized to address sexual and reproductive needs of young people. The Uganda Family Planning Implementation Plan 2015-2020's #1 priority is to increase age-appropriate information, access to family planning amongst young people ages 10 to 24 years. In order to implement this, Uganda has been using the National Policy Guidelines for Sexual and Reproductive Health Services 2006, which stipulates that every individual who is sexually active can receive family planning and contraceptive services irrespective of age or mental status, including adolescents. Additionally, the Adolescent Health Policy Guidelines and Services Standards have been relied on to extend sexual and reproductive health services to the adolescents. The policy says that all adolescents between 10 and 24 years are eligible for adolescent-friendly services, including family planning and the use of condoms, irrespective of their age or mental status. The most recent guidelines were the 2017 National Guidelines and Services Standards for Sexual and Reproductive Health Rights, signed by then Acting Director General for Health Services, Professor Anthony Mbonye. This was a revised copy of the 2006 Policy National Guidelines and Services Standards for Sexual and Reproductive Health and Rights. So, why would the Ministry of Health disown a document that was signed by its technical team? One of the contentious clauses in the new guidelines is Clause 3.2.6, which among others calls for the increased access to information and use of family planning to women in reproductive age between 15 and 49 years and men in reproductive age. Health Minister Ruth Acheng says that this is not what the ministry stands for.
First of all, it is wrong to give our children, whether they are 10 years or 15 years, contraceptives, for so many reasons. One, many of them are not of reproductive age group. And even those who are of reproductive age group, they only need to be given information on sexuality. Secondly, giving them contraceptives would promote promiscuity, because these young people would know that they will not get pregnant.
Ruth Acheng says that the guidelines did not go through the right channels and were never approved by the top management of the ministry.
This particular document, when it was taken to the Health Policy Advisory Committee in 2015, it was rejected. And it was rejected on grounds that we cannot give our children contraceptives. Secondly, we do not and we cannot encourage abortions in Uganda. In 2016, I'm assuming they went and merged the documents and revised the contents. When it was taken to the Health Policy Advisory Committee, it was again rejected. This was in July this year. And they were requested to remove all the components in the document that is not acceptable to us by law and by our ethics, and bring the document back for approval to the Health Policy Advisory Committee. It was never done. To our surprise, the document appeared in the Family Planning Conference for a launch.
Acheng is backed by moralists who argue that sexual and reproductive issues of adolescents should be left to the responsibility of the parents. Stephen Langer is the director of Family Life Network.
That is a parenting problem. That is a parenting problem. If my child is having sex, if my child is pregnant, if my child is having a sexual transmitted disease, bring that child to me. That is my work as a parent. Otherwise, what am I doing as a parent? It's not the work of the schools. It's not the work of the Ministry of whatever. It is the work of parents. It is a parent who should now see, this matter, I should handle it like this. I should handle it like that. That's what we are there for as parents. And besides, as parents, we know how to use mistakes that children make to teach values and to teach positive character in life.
In fact, Langer says that government needs to direct some of the money from family planning to educate the parents on child grooming.
You see, money being given to give children contraception should rather be given to sensitize parents on their parenting role and how they can parent their children better.
From this narrative, in comparison with the available statistics and policies, the question of morality versus reality sets in. The managing director of Center for Health, Human Rights and Development, Moses Mulumba, argues that Uganda's laws and policies on sexual and reproductive rights need to be harmonized to respond to public health needs.
I think the ministry is finding it hard because it tries to make sure that all the policies that it makes are compliant with the existing legal framework. At the same time, the people that are in charge of updating the laws are not in clinical practice. They are people in the justice system. They are dealing with offenses, and that's what they are looking at. But they are not looking at the reality of what public health is actually saying. And that's where the challenge is. So the ministry is always careful not to make policies that are going to go against the law. And this is why I'm raising an argument that I think the ministry needs to raise up and go to the Law Reform Commission, make the case and say this is the evidence that we're actually seeing. These are the studies that we have been documenting over time. It's becoming extremely difficult for us to make a clinical intervention on contraception because we always are faced with the question of rape.
The human rights lawyer and defender also casts a shadow on arguments that access to contraceptives to children from ages 15 years and above will promote promiscuity.
I've definitely not come across studies that are actually indicating to us that when you reduce the age of contraception access, it means that the sex, appetite is also going to raise. I've not seen any study that says that. And I've not seen the same being raised on HIV/AIDS, that when you promote use of condoms, it therefore means that people's sexual appetites are going to go up. We haven't seen that. I think the ministry needs to bring that evidence, or members of parliament need to bring that evidence, and put it there. So in my view, that kind of argument wouldn't hold water.
Mulumba says that the absence of the national guidelines on sexual and reproductive health will hinder access to these services by the adolescents.
The Ministry of Health has been making sexual reproductive health guidelines and policy practice documents, which is a classic practice because, I can't get a legislation and implement it when I'm doing clinical work. I can't get the national health policy and implement it when I'm doing clinical work. So they need tools. The health workers need tools that guide them. So these tools have to change in accordance with what the scientists are actually seeing. So in fact, when you have sexual reproductive health guidelines that are in place for 10 years and more, those are obsolete, and therefore they are not responding to what is required.
Dr. Charles Chigundu is the head of the gynecology unit at Mulago Referral Hospital. He says that the issue of whether to extend contraceptives to adolescents should be premised on the age at which they become sexually active.
Should they be sexually active? I think that should be the first question. If they are sexually active and they have run into the fertility period window and they are not willing or not ready to have children, the obvious answer is that they should have contraceptives. We need as society to start to understand or try to debate whether children should be sexually active. I know our national laws.
Dr. Chigundu warns that the maternal deaths and reproductive health illnesses could increase if the statistics on sexual and reproductive health are ignored.
When they get pregnant, they contribute significantly to suffering and death of our women. We know the young people contribute probably over 40% of maternal deaths in Uganda. You see, the young people, and that's a broad range. They contribute significantly to unsafe abortions because they're in that bracket. They're exposed to sex, and we know we shouldn't be hiding. I mean, I keep telling people, how many of us or how many of you adults there remember having, asked your parents for permission to have sex?
As the argument of morality versus reality on extending contraceptives to adolescents continues, these are the voices of the young people.
They should be given condoms because that says they play sex.
They should advise them on how to protect themselves or how to abstain from sex and wait for the right time.
Abalenzi batulimba tugenda ne twebaka nabo tetumanya bivaamu. Ne kondomu ziyinza otuyamba n'obutafuna siriimu na birwadde ebirala n'olubuto. Nze nsanyukira babawa abaana.
For those who are providing sexual and reproductive health services like the Naguru Teenage Center, the delay to authorize the 2017 guidelines is a huge blow to their work.
I mean, we continue because right now this policy was supposed to be an update of one that came out in 2006. So that means that we continue working on the old policy. By the time they choose to review the policy, it sort of implies that there are already gaps that have been identified in the previous one, and that's why we need to update it. So you can only work with the old one that has been there because the new one has not been set out to run.
While the debate on whether to avail contraceptives to 15-year-olds rages on, Uganda needs to find a compromise between morality and reality to save its future generation while it still can. Solomon Serwanja, NBS, Live at 9.